Hello, I'm Andrew Price. Welcome to the channel, and today I'll be showing you the contents of my GHB or get home bag. So stick with me. There's no denying that we are living in interesting times. The news is full of doom and gloom and wars and natural disasters, so it pays to be prepared. Now, one of the concepts that I've always considered quite important is that of the GHB or get home bag. Now, this is the principle that you keep a bag either in work or where you spend a lot of your daytime, could be in a vehicle, and this allows you to get back to your place of safety. That could be your home or somewhere else. Now, the bag and its contents will vary depending on where you are, how far you might need to get to, the time of year, and lots of other factors. But this is just my bag and a very basic outline of the contents that I might keep in it. Now, the idea of the get home bag is something I first thought about way back in 1999 when the threat of the Y2K bug was hovering over us like a black cloud, and we were told that at the turn of midnight 1999 that all the computers would stop, planes were going to fall out of the sky, and we would be thrown back to a medieval society. So, you know, as a preparedness-minded type, I thought, right, I'm going to be prepared for this. I didn't quite believe that was going to happen, and of course, in hindsight, it never did. But it's an interesting intellectual experiment to think about all the things that you might need. So this is the concept that I had, was to put together a bag that would allow me to get from where I was working at the time, which was in central London, back to my place of safety, which is in South Wales. So a distance of quite a lot of miles. Now, I'd planned to walk a route that took me away from major highways and major urban centres, and I'd planned to follow power line routes and canal paths, footpaths, anywhere that would allow me to stay away from the mass of the population. It's a good experiment. I checked it all out on the map, and I planned out where I would pre-position caches along the way so that I could resupply as I went. Now, it remained very much as an intellectual concept. I never actually did it. The world didn't end in 1999, and here we are, 25 years later. But with the news at the moment, constant wars, it's definitely a time to revisit that idea. So here is my get home bag. The ideal bag, as the basis of a get home bag, will be lightweight. The whole emphasis of the get home bag is that you're on the move. You're not on a long camping trip. You're not going to be sitting around a campfire singing songs and toasting marshmallows. You will be moving as much as you possibly can. Now, that may mean that you have to move at night. Depends on the scenario that you're working with, but the bag should be lightweight, and that means that the kind of bag that's made for hiking, lightweight backpacking, will be perfect for this. Now, you may also want to consider the colour. Now, a bright pack will be perfect in the sense that you're just going to look like a normal person going about your business, but at the same time, if you do want to go off into the bush to lay low for a little while, it helps to have a slightly subdued backpack. This is the Carrymore SF Delta 35. It's a 35 litre pack, designed really as a sort of extended hiking pack for day hikes. It's got these two big pouches at the side for water bottles, so it's a really perfect sized pack for lightweight travel. And the previous owner of this bag decided to spray paint it grey, so they took the whole grey man concept to the ultimate. But that's quite good because it looks like it's been well used. It certainly doesn't look very military. It sort of just looks like a skanky old pack that somebody might be carrying to or from work. And yeah, and it's a comfortable pack. I'll just flip it round. You can see it has this great back system, nicely padded, quite well ventilated, so you can carry this. It allows a little bit of airflow around your back, and it fits really well. It's quite comfortable. Just enables you to carry it for a long period without getting too uncomfortable. Based on the rule of threes, we can only live for 3 days without water. Now, if you're on the move, you're sweating heavily, that 3 days could be reduced significantly. So it makes sense to carry water as well as the means to purify it. So the outside part of this pack, we've got these two mesh pockets here. We've got a 1 litre water bottle on this side. It's stainless steel, which means that we can actually boil water in this if we need to. And down below, I have a container that can be used for cooking or for scooping water out of difficult to reach places, things like that. So quite lightweight and a very useful option. Remember to keep these water containers full, because if you do have to bug out very quickly, you may not have time to fill it up. So keep that filled periodically refresh the water and make sure it's ready to go when you need it. On the other side, we have the Grail GeoPress, which is a superb water filter, very, very effective. We ran a video on this a little while ago where I demonstrated this in use, purifying some really grim water from a ditch or bog not far from where I am now, and the water came out tasting fantastic and I had no ill effects from it. So if it can purify that water, it's fairly safe to assume it will be safe to filter just about any water you might come across, provided that it's fresh, not salt water, not near the sea. So a really good filter, not the lightest, but certainly one that I would rely on in an emergency. Now that we've established where the water is, let's move on to the inside of the pack. Now at the front we have this zipped diagonal pocket here. This is where you keep all those things that you might need very quickly while you're on the move. So at the top we have a cat tourniquet. So this is very useful in traumatic injuries. It could be amputations, road traffic accidents, anywhere there's a risk of somebody, maybe yourself, bleeding out. So always important to keep one of those really accessible. Should be either visible on the outside of the pack or somewhere accessible just inside the pack. So that's a great place, just as long as you know where to find it. Put that one there. We have some tissues, great for just about anything, cleanups, loo roll, you name it. Always handy to keep that close to hand. Back to first aid. We have an Israeli field dressing or an Israeli bandage. These are superb, very, very effective for large wounds. Could be gunshot wounds, lacerations, injuries of all types. So keep that close to hand as well. We also have a small boo-boo kit. This is a Helicon Tex, really nicely designed pouch, which holds things like small dressings, plasters, aspirin, paracetamol, ibuprofen, just about all those things that you might need while you're on the move. So a really nicely designed small pouch for those little things that you might require in the first aid realm. And delving deeper. Right, we're walking a lot. We're going to be on our feet, probably for hours, maybe even days. So you want to have a blister kit. A good comprehensive blister kit like that will allow you to keep moving even if you get those blisters. So feel a hot spot coming, get the boots off, get it treated as quickly as you can, and then you can keep moving. And further in we have some more first aid gauze. So this is great for very severe injuries, packing wounds, that sort of thing. All very accessible in that front pouch pocket. The long handled spoon, essential. I'll explain why in a little while. We've got some energy drink, great for energy, contains lots of sugars. It also contains isotonics, which are very important if you're sweating a lot. You want to keep your isotonic levels up, as well as keeping hydrated. So we can put that alongside the water here. And we've got a few other bits and bobs in here. Got a small pocket buoy here, which is the smallest of the silky saws, nice folding version here. Even though it's a small saw, that will keep you in firewood, no problems at all, very effective. A little sharpener, this is the Morakniv 600 grit sharpener, very compact, weighs almost nothing, and that will help you to keep your blade sharp while you're on the move. Got some beef jerky, just to keep your protein levels up. Also contains a fair amount of salt, so if you're on the move sweating a lot, that's a good thing as well. Can't live long without chocolate. Make sure you've got a few bars of that stashed away. Paracord, you can hold the world together with this stuff. It's got the 550 paracord, extremely strong, holds 550 pounds of weight, or at least that's what it's tested for. But if you break this down, you've got 7 inner strands, which can also be used to make things like fishing lines, nets. So very, very useful. And I've got a Ranger band around there, which helps to hold things together. Plus being rubber, also an extra source of tinder. This is what we call a stopcock key, or a Silcock key in the States. It's a multi-use tool, doesn't weigh very much. And what this will allow you to do is to operate taps or faucets that may have had the handles removed. Now this is something you see quite often in places like petrol station forecourts, where they don't really want people using the water, and you'll often find the handle has been removed, but one of these keys, and you've got the triangular one, you've got a square one, you've got an even smaller one there, one of these should allow you to operate that faucet. So it's a useful thing to keep in your kit if you're on the move in an urban area. Delving deeper, we have one of my 2 head torches. I've always lived by the principle that 2 is 1, 1 is none. So when it comes to head torches, I normally have at least 2, generally of reasonable quality. I don't buy the most expensive ones I can. I buy one that I can afford to buy 2 of, preferably one that's rechargeable and one that uses batteries. Gives you multiple options, and if you lose or break one, you've still got another one that's working. And last but not least, we have an Alpine ferrule. This is a steel socket with a very sharp point on the end here. This is a very useful tool to keep in your kit because it weighs very little, and if we take a length of hazel or other straight wood, we can put this on the end and make a very effective walking pole. Just be aware, it is very pointy, so you wouldn't want to poke yourself with it or anything else. Just bear that in mind. So let's check the side pockets. Front pockets empty, so we're moving on to the internals of the pack. Just open it right up now. Right at the front here we have a small pouch, so I'll open that up. And here we have my second head torch. This time it's a silver. We also have my trusty Swiss Army knife. This is the Climber model, which I've shown on a previous video. Very useful tool, and also it's UK legal. So even if you get stopped by the police, this is actually a legal item to carry. It has a non-locking blade of less than 3 inches, so it's not considered to be an offensive weapon in the UK. And it also has quite a few other useful features, an awl, it has a corkscrew, it has a small scissors, and I also keep a spare spoon attached there as well. I have 2 lighters. 2 is 1, 1 is none, and both of these have gaffer tape wrapped around the outside, or duct tape. Really useful for emergency repairs, so we've got fire lighting and repair, plus the duct tape itself is a useful tinder. A compass. Very important to know which direction to go, and I always keep my compass in a protective case as well. And this is the Silver Expedition 4, which is a really popular model of navigational compass. Make sure it's working, check it periodically, make sure it's still in good condition, because this is very important for navigation. And I also have a distance card, which I keep with it as well. And now we have a little Maxpedition pouch. Cash is king, as I've mentioned before. If the power's down, you may not have access to your bank machines, you may not be able to get any cash out, you may not be able to pay by card, in which case having a supply of cash, including some small change, could get you out of trouble. You may be able to buy things that you wouldn't be able to buy with your card. So always keep a little bit of cash with you in your kit, and that could get you out of a lot of problems. May even not have to walk. If you can find a taxi driver that'll take cash, you could get driven to where you need to be. So bear that in mind. Opening this up, we have an Anker power bank, plus some charging leads and adapters, just to keep all the devices that you have with you charged up. So you've got your phone, maybe even have an ability to charge up one of your head torches as well. So really useful. You'll get 3 good charges of a phone off one of these, so definitely worth keeping. And if the phone network is operational, why not use it? At the back, next to the back system, we have another pocket, so I'm going to open that up. You want to keep soft items in there, nothing too hard or pokey that will stick into your back. Got some emergency tinder card here, great for lighting fires, as well as some lifeboat matches and a couple of candles. Candles are fantastic, not only for light, but also if you put a poncho up, wrap it around yourself, and in between your legs you put a lit candle, and that can keep you surprisingly warm, even if it's incredibly cold. So really good little tip for staying warm, you know, without having to stop and set up tents and things like that. We have my Emberlit titanium folding stove here, which I've covered in another video. So that's a really useful, very lightweight option that can burn any dry sticks or dry fuel as you're on the move. And to accompany the compass, we have an ordnance survey map. This map covers the area that I'm in. If you are covering a much bigger distance, then you will need to carry other maps in make sure that you cover all the area that you're likely to be traveling through. And if you get the 1 to 50,000 or 1 to 25,000 maps, 1 to 25,000 will give you extreme detail. You can see all those features that you may need to avoid, or small footpaths that you may want to follow, things like that. 1 to 50,000 gives you a much broader overview, but can still be a useful map. So you may want to keep a 1 to 50,000 of the whole area, and then maybe a couple of 1 to 25s, which will give you that detailed analysis of the area you're in. Or if you have a very specific route, you may just want to print off small sections of the map so that you're not having to carry the entire map with you, and you can laminate those and just keep them with you. Just a great way of getting from A to B. And last, but certainly not least, we have the Rhino Rescue Wound Closure Kit. Now this is a post first aid treatment, so once you've got that bleeding stopped, you can now use this kit to suture up or to close up wounds. You have some antiseptics in there, some alcohol prep pads. So this is not kept at the very front of the pack, because this is something that you'll use later on during the recovery period after an injury. Into the main body of the pack, we have a little pouch with some 3-in-1 coffee sachets. These are superb, so you can use these for a hot drink, provided that you can heat some water, or just add them to cold water, have them as an energy drink. So nice little dose of caffeine, some sugar, and that will help to keep you going. Now, you can live for a long time without food, but if you're on the move, you're going to get hungry, you're going to be burning off calories. So it's great to be able to stop. If you have to spend a night, stop and have a meal. That will help to keep you fueled and on the move. So we've got some of these freeze-dried, very lightweight, real termat meals, which are incredible. You just boil some water, put it into the bag up to the marked level, let it soak for a while, and you've got yourself a really, really tasty and nutritious meal. So definitely worth carrying, weigh very little, well worth putting in a kit like this. I've got a couple of these in here. Right, the last of the food, this is the Horlicks tablets. I really like these. There's a little historical link to these that I like. These were issued to RAF air crews in their emergency food rations. I really like the taste of them, so I always put them in my kits. Now, depending on where we are and the circumstances under which we're traveling, we may or may not be able to have a campfire. Now, campfires will give away a position. They give off a lot of light, they give off a lot of smoke, they can be scented for a very long distance. So unless you're in a situation where you're not too concerned about being seen, I would say avoid a campfire. Now, the best way to do that and still be able to boil or heat food would be to use a methylated spirit stove. This is methylated spirits. There's enough in there for quite a few brews. And this is the Phantom stove by Polymath Products, which folds down. And I've included this stove in the Arctis Smock video that I did a little while ago. And it's very lightweight, works very effectively. And we can use it either with the Exogel fuel, which is another very efficient fuel that burns with a fairly low light signature and very little scent. Or we can use the methylated spirit stove, and it comes with a small windshield as well. So this is from Polymath Products, and a very good option if you don't want to have a fire. So if you can have a fire, you can use the Firebox stove by Embolit, and if you don't want to have a fire, you can use the meth stove. Gives you options, doesn't weigh an awful lot. Communications are important. So if the phone network's down, if you can't get on the internet for whatever reason, it's good to have a backup. So I always carry a small radio. This is the UV5R Baofeng, very popular prepper radio, and this will allow me to communicate with other radio holders or amateur radio enthusiasts. Now, technically you do need a license to use one of these, certainly in the UK and probably worldwide, but you can still use it to scan, listen to frequencies, and in an emergency you can use it as a communication device as well. So quite a useful way to keep up to date with news, what's going on in your local area. And these have a line of sight signal range, particularly if you use the extended aerial. This is an aftermarket aerial that I chose, and they're quite effective. Not the longest range, but certainly a good backup. Moving on to our sleep system. Now, with the sleep system, we are looking at two possible options here. We've got our permissive environment sleep system and our non-permissive environment sleep system, and that is based on the circumstances in which we're traveling and whether we want to be seen or whether we don't want to be seen. So we start off with the Miltech US Army poncho. So this is a a civilian version of the US Army poncho, which can be used as a raincoat. It can cover you and your pack, and you can continue to walk and travel as you go. And I also keep some paracord as guy lines and some pegs in there. Now, I'll be showing you a bit more of this when we make the video that shows this in use. So you'll have to wait and see how we use that. Now, this next piece is part of the permissive sleep system. So if you are able to set up a camp and get a proper night's sleep, you might want to use this. This is the Thermarest Neo Air, a very lightweight sleeping mat, and that will allow you to stay off the ground, stay insulated, and get a good night's sleep. The same would apply for the bivy bag. Keeps you dry, but definitely as part of the permissive overnight camping option. Finally, we have the One Tigris warm poncho. This is an excellent versatile insulation layer, often referred to as a wooby. A poncho liner can be worn underneath a poncho in non-permissive environments. So if you're on the move, you may find somewhere out of the wind, lean against a tree, just keep yourself warm, get a little bit of shut-eye, and then if you do have to get moving very quickly, you can just get up and move off. So you're not actually setting up camp. In a permissive environment, this can also be attached around the edges to form a sleeping bag, and then you can use that in a normal camp scenario. So very versatile, very useful, and very important to keep you warm while you're on the move. Well, that's most of the contents covered, but I haven't included a couple of important factors. One of them is socks. Socks are really important. I would always carry 2 pairs at least, 1 pair on your feet, 1 in the bag, and that way you can wash 1 pair, leave it on the outside of your pack to dry while wearing the other pair. The other thing is a pair of boots. If you're putting your go bag in the back of your car, make sure you put a pair of broken in hiking boots in with them. They should be comfortable, they should be well worn. You don't want to be testing out new boots while you're having to make your emergency bug out back home. So that's something to consider. And if the weather is very cold, you may also want to consider putting a pair of gloves, some thermal layers, a warm hat, things of that nature. So this is really a warm weather option, but you may want to consider adding to it, removing things depending on the seasons. Well, thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will be making another video where I'll be testing out the contents of this get home bag under a realistic scenario. Now, I would like to know what you would put in your go bag. Would you put anything different? Please comment down below and let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to our weekly content, which is released at 1 p.m. UK time every Saturday. I'll see you next time.